Tired of feeling drained by male critiques or constant scrutiny? What if you could develop an impenetrable inner world, a Sigma shield that deflects every attack, leaving you calm, confident, and completely unshaken? Think a Sigma female is easy prey. Think again. This video exposes 9 shocking ways men tried to undermine these powerful women, and why their unique radiance only shone brighter. Prepare to witness true strength and discover what makes her absolutely unbreakable. Sigma females aren't just independent, they're untouchable in ways most people don't even notice. Men have tried all sorts of tricks to control, manipulate, or tear them down, and yet no matter the tactic, they fail. Today, we're breaking down 9 ways men try to hurt Sigma females, and why these attempts always backfire. By the end, you'll see why a Sigma female's strength isn't just in her independence, it's in her mindset. Let's go. 1. Coercive control. Some men try to dictate how a Sigma female should think, act, or feel. They want to shape her reality to fit their own ideas of what she should be. They push, they demand. They try to box her in with invisible rules that don't exist outside their minds. They might tell her how to dress, what to say, who to see, or even what to believe. At first it can feel subtle, almost harmless, a comment here, a suggestion there. But coercive control is never subtle for long. It starts to feel like a pressure, like someone is pressing on her from every side, trying to squash her independence, trying to bend her into a mold that doesn't fit. The goal is to make her question herself, to make her feel like her freedom comes at a cost, to make her doubt her instincts. And yet, the Sigma female operates differently. She notices the patterns. She senses the pressure almost instantly. Unlike others who might crumble under the weight of constant shoulds and musts, she recognizes that these demands are someone else trying to control her, not something that defines her. She doesn't play by anyone's rules, especially rules imposed out of fear, insecurity, or selfish desire. She sets her own boundaries and holds them firmly. Her boundaries aren't just words on a list. They are lived, practiced, and non-negotiable. She communicates them clearly when necessary, but mostly she lives them unapologetically, day after day. Coercion fails because it assumes she is pliable or dependent, and she is neither. The more someone tries to push her into conformity, the more she roots herself in her own identity, the more she understands her own power. She learns the exact limits of what she will tolerate and uses that knowledge to protect her mental and emotional space. Her strength isn't loud or showy, it's quiet, deliberate, and deeply unshakable. Every attempt to control her becomes a mirror, reflecting the insecurity of the person trying to dominate her. It doesn't weaken her. It sharpens her awareness, strengthens her self-confidence, and clarifies her path. Men who try coercive control often fail not because the Sigma female confronts them aggressively, though she can if she chooses, but because their methods are incompatible with her nature. They operate with force, but she operates with freedom. They try to press, but she moves with fluidity, shifting, adapting, and ultimately staying unbroken. Coercive control is like a wave crashing against a rock. It might splash and make noise, but the rock remains steady, unmoved, and unbroken. That rock is the Sigma female. No amount of pushing or manipulating changes her essence, because her inner world is untouchable and her power grows stronger with every attempt to control her. In the end, coercive control doesn't bend her. It only highlights the limits of those trying to bend her and reminds her why her independence is non-negotiable. Hey, if you're vibing with this video so far, hit that like button. It helps us show more women how untouchable they really are. Alright, let's move on. 2. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the sneakiest tactics men try against Sigma females. They want her to doubt herself, to question her reality, to second-guess her instincts. You're overreacting. You're imagining things that never happened. It starts small, almost invisible, but it builds. They weave confusion into conversation, twist facts, and manipulate words so that she begins to wonder if she's losing her mind. Some women might fall into the trap and feel unstable, But a Sigma female operates differently. She doesn't let uncertainty settle inside her. She notices the pattern, she recognizes the behavior, and she trusts her inner compass over anyone else's narrative. Gaslighting assumes she is fragile, pliable, and easy to break. That assumption is already the first reason it fails. Sigma females have spent a lifetime observing, analyzing, and learning to rely on themselves. Their perception is precise, their judgment sharp, and their sense of self rarely wavers. When a man tries to twist reality, she doesn't panic. She checks her facts, observes evidence, and reaffirms her own understanding. She doesn't need external validation to confirm what she knows. The confusion they try to plant only bounces off her inner strength like water off a rock. Gaslighting also relies on emotional manipulation. They create doubt, guilt, and shame to erode her confidence. They hope she will apologize for things she didn't do, feel guilty for setting boundaries, or feel lost in a maze of contradictions. But the Sigma female's emotional resilience is her shield. She can feel, process, and acknowledge emotions without letting them control her decisions. She distinguishes between reality and manipulation, between truth and the false narrative someone tries to impose. The more they try, the more she sharpens her awareness. Gaslighting becomes ineffective because she doesn't react with fear or defensiveness. She responds with clarity, composure, and a refusal to let someone else rewrite her story. Even when subtle gaslighting is repeated daily, she notices patterns, sets boundaries, and maintains her mental space. She might disengage, redirect the conversation, or calmly expose the manipulator's tactics, but she never loses herself. Sigma females also turn this challenge into strength. Every attempt to confuse her reinforces her observation skills, teaches her patience, and reminds her of her own self-sufficiency. Men who try to gaslight her fail because they assume control is possible where it isn't. They think bending perception is enough, but they underestimate her inner stability. She sees through the distortion, she navigates reality on her own terms, and she keeps moving forward unshaken. Gaslighting doesn't weaken her, it exposes the manipulator's insecurity and highlights the Sigma female's resilience. Their lies may exist, but her truth is unshakable. Every attempt to distort reality only reinforces why she trusts herself, why she values her own judgment, and why no one can rewrite her identity. In the end, gaslighting against a Sigma female doesn't create confusion. It strengthens her clarity, her confidence, and her unwavering independence, proving again that no man can undermine the essence of who she is. 3. Controlling behavior. Controlling behavior is one of the most obvious ways men try to undermine Sigma females. They want to decide where she goes, what she does, who she talks to, and even how she thinks. It's subtle at first, a suggestion disguised as concern, a helpful comment about her choices, or a quiet expectation that she should follow their lead. But over time, it becomes clear. They want power over her life, and they hope compliance will prove her loyalty or dependence. Sigma females aren't designed to comply. She notices the controlling energy almost immediately, feels the invisible leash, and refuses to be confined. She doesn't argue constantly or over-explain herself. She simply refuses to participate in someone else's game of control. Men often assume that persistence will work, that pressure will break her, but it only does the opposite. Every attempt to control her reinforces her understanding of autonomy and independence. She evaluates the behavior calmly, identifies the pattern, and strengthens her boundaries. She knows exactly what she will tolerate and what she won't, and she lives by that knowledge every single day. Controlling behavior can be emotional too. Some men try to manipulate feelings, use guilt, or induce shame to bend her will. They might say things like, "If you really cared, you would do this," or "You're making it hard for me to trust you." Sigma females recognize these for what they are, attempts to manipulate, not genuine requests or expressions of concern. She doesn't get trapped in their emotions. Instead, she holds her space, keeps her clarity, and moves according to her own values and priorities. She doesn't let external pressures override her inner compass. Controlling behavior often escalates when men realize their tactics fail. They might try intimidation, subtle threats, or passive aggression, hoping she will react out of frustration. But Sigma females are masters of composure. She observes without judgment, responds when necessary, and disengages when the control becomes toxic. Her strength is quiet but undeniable. She doesn't need to dominate or fight to assert herself. Her boundaries speak volumes. She also turns attempts at control into lessons. Each effort someone makes to limit her independence teaches her more about human behavior, strategy, and resilience. Instead of being weakened, she becomes sharper, more confident, and more prepared for any future challenge. In the end, controlling behavior doesn't dictate her actions. It only highlights the limits of the person attempting it and showcases the unshakable power of the Sigma female. She moves through life on her own terms, guided by her intuition, experience, and unwavering independence. No one's desire to control her can succeed because her inner world is untouchable and her freedom isn't negotiable. Every push, every attempt, every expectation only strengthens her resolve, proving again that she cannot be bent, broken, or boxed in. The Sigma female remains unshaken, untouchable, and unstoppable, turning every controlling effort into a reminder of her own power, autonomy, and absolute self-mastery. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. This channel is all about reminding Sigma females how untouchable they are. Now, let's see the next way men try to fail you. 4. Weaponizing your past or secrets. Some men try to hurt Sigma females by digging into their past. They search for old mistakes, embarrassing moments, or hidden secrets, thinking these can be used as ammunition. They assume shame, guilt, or regret will weaken her and make her easier to manipulate. They might say things like, "Remember what you did back then?" or "I know what really happened." Their goal is to make her doubt herself, question her growth, or feel indebted to their judgment. But Sigma females operate differently. She doesn't hide her past, she owns it. Every misstep, every failure, every lesson learned is part of who she is. She knows that her value isn't determined by her mistakes, but by how she grows from them. When someone tries to weaponize her history, she simply observes their behavior and remains unshaken. Weaponizing the past only exposes the insecurity and control issues of the person attempting it. They believe they can rewrite her story, but her story belongs to her alone. Sigma females are skilled at reframing situations. They turn what others see as vulnerability into strength. She doesn't need to defend herself aggressively, and she doesn't feel guilty for being human. Instead, she allows her past to inform her present wisdom, using experience as a guide rather than a weapon. The more someone tries to exploit her history, the more she recognizes the pattern and strengthens her emotional armor. Secrets and past mistakes lose their power when met with honesty, self-awareness, and self-respect. A Sigma female's confidence isn't fragile, it's deeply rooted. Men attempting this tactic fail because they underestimate her ability to contextualize and rise above the narrative they try to impose. They hope shame will weaken her, but it only reminds her of how far she's come. She sees the attack for what it is, responds calmly if needed, and moves forward without losing momentum. This isn't about revenge or proving them wrong. It's about maintaining control over her own life. By refusing to let others define her through her past, she asserts her independence and preserves her integrity. Every attempt to weaponize secrets or history becomes a lesson in resilience and self-mastery. Sigma females don't fear their past. They embrace it as part of their journey. They understand that no one else owns their story, and no one can rewrite their identity. Attempts to shame, guilt, or manipulate them through old mistakes simply highlight the manipulator's weakness and her strength. In the end, weaponizing her past fails because she has already claimed ownership of her life. She moves through the world on her own terms, guided by wisdom, intuition, and absolute self-respect. Every effort to attack her history only reinforces her power, independence, and unshakable confidence, proving once again that a Sigma female cannot be broken by someone else's attempt to control her narrative or define her worth. 5. Love bombing, then devaluation. Some men try to hurt Sigma females by alternating extremes of affection and criticism. They start with love bombing, overwhelming her with attention, gifts, praise, and words that make her feel adored. At first, it feels flattering, exciting, and even validating, but it's a setup. Once they gain influence or create dependency, the devaluation begins. Suddenly, the affection disappears, replaced with criticism, neglect, or emotional coldness. They hope the contrast will make her question her worth, doubt her judgment, or scramble to regain their favor. Sigma females are not naive. She sees the pattern quickly because she values consistency and authenticity over manipulation. Love bombing followed by devaluation assumes she needs external validation to feel secure. But a Sigma female's confidence doesn't depend on anyone's approval. She's self-contained, aware of her value, and able to evaluate relationships objectively. The push and pull is meant to destabilize her, but instead it strengthens her discernment. She recognizes charm for what it is, and she observes motives without rushing into emotional traps. When the devaluation phase arrives, she doesn't crumble. Instead, she measures the situation calmly, assesses her boundaries, and decides how much energy, if any, she will invest. Love bombing. Then devaluation relies on emotional manipulation, assuming she will react impulsively or attach her self-worth to the inconsistency. But Sigma females respond with composure. They understand that emotional manipulation reveals insecurity and lack of genuine character. She doesn't waste time convincing someone to respect her. She simply aligns her energy with people who honor her boundaries and values. The experience also teaches her about human behavior, patterns, and self-respect. Instead of being hurt, she grows stronger, more selective, and more confident in identifying manipulation. Every attempt to destabilize her backfires because she refuses to let inconsistent affection dictate her sense of self. Sigma females understand that love is not a weapon and admiration cannot be used as leverage over them. They choose clarity, consistency, and self-awareness over drama or emotional coercion. The more someone tries to fluctuate between extremes, the more she solidifies her own standards for respect and interaction. They hope the cycle creates dependency or confusion, but it only highlights the Sigma female's resilience. Her self-worth is grounded, her judgment sharp, and her independence unwavering. Attempts to manipulate her through love bombing and devaluation fail because she sees them as tactics, not truths. She moves through the emotional storm with her composure intact, unaffected by inconsistent behavior. In the end, love bombing then devaluation only proves her insight, patience, and emotional fortitude. Sigma females remain untouchable, secure in their value, and in full control of their own emotions, showing once again that no one can destabilize a woman who refuses to surrender her power to manipulation. Pause for a sec. If you've ever been pressured financially or had someone try to limit your independence, comment below. I want to hear your story, and if this video is helping you feel seen and empowered, smash that like button. You're not just watching, you're part of a movement. Alright, last point coming up, and it's a big one. 6. Threats, intimidation, and menace. Some men try to hurt Sigma females through fear. They use threats, intimidation, and menacing behavior to control, manipulate, or unsettle her. It might start with subtle comments like, "You'll regret it if you do that," or "Do you really think you can handle this?" Then it escalates to more direct forms, angry words, menacing gestures, or implied consequences for asserting herself. Their goal is simple. They want to pressure her into submission, hoping she will doubt herself or give in. Sigma females respond differently. She doesn't panic, she doesn't crumble, and she doesn't react with fear. She observes the attempt carefully, evaluates its authenticity, and decides how to protect her space. Threats only work if someone believes they carry power over them. Sigma females recognize that intimidation is a reflection of insecurity, not authority. She understands that true power isn't loud or aggressive. It's calm, deliberate, and grounded in self-confidence. Menacing behavior doesn't shake her, it sharpens her awareness. She learns to read the situation, anticipate patterns, and avoid unnecessary confrontation without compromising her boundaries. Intimidation relies on emotional manipulation and assumed superiority. Threats assume she is vulnerable or dependent, but Sigma females are neither. They maintain control over their own decisions, bodies, and minds. Every attempt to frighten her becomes a lesson in observation and strategy. Instead of reacting emotionally, she responds thoughtfully. Sometimes that means walking away, disengaging, or quietly documenting behavior. Other times it means confronting the person calmly, showing that aggression cannot dictate her actions. The Sigma female's response is strategic, not reactive. Men may escalate, hoping persistence will erode her confidence, but she remains composed. Her self-assuredness is her shield. They hope that fear will cloud her judgment, but her inner clarity is untouchable. Threats and intimidation can't break her because her foundation is built on independence, self-trust, and emotional resilience. Even in the face of direct menace, she prioritizes safety, strategy, and calm over drama or overreaction. Every attempt to control through fear only exposes the manipulator's weakness and reinforces her strength. Sigma females use these experiences to refine their judgment, strengthen boundaries, and deepen self-reliance. The more someone tries to intimidate her, the clearer she becomes about what is acceptable and what isn't. Threats, intimidation, and menacing tactics fail because they assume she is fragile, compliant, or easily swayed. They underestimate the Sigma female's ability to remain unshaken, think clearly, and act independently. In the end, intimidation does not destabilize her. It highlights her unwavering confidence, self-mastery, and the untouchable nature of her inner world. She moves forward calmly, keeping her power intact, proving that no amount of menace can bend, control, or diminish a Sigma female. 7. Surveillance and monitoring. Some men try to hurt Sigma females by keeping tabs on every move they make. They check messages, track locations, question who she's talking to, or try to control her social interactions. The goal is obvious. They want to know, they want to manage, and they want to impose limits, hoping that constant observation will create dependency or fear. Sigma females respond differently. She doesn't panic, and she doesn't scramble to justify herself. She recognizes surveillance for what it is, an attempt to exert power where none exists. Monitoring assumes she can be boxed in, controlled or manipulated, but she refuses to play that role. Her independence is non-negotiable. The more someone tries to watch or track her, the more she becomes aware of boundaries and the importance of privacy. Sigma females are strategic. She maintains her autonomy, protects her personal space, and continues to live her life on her own terms. Men may believe their control comes from knowledge, but she knows it comes from insecurity. Their obsession with monitoring reflects weakness, not strength, and she sees that clearly. Surveillance also often comes with emotional manipulation. They may try guilt or intimidation. Why didn't you tell me where you were? Or, who is she? These questions are intended to create tension, anxiety, or a sense of obligation. But the Sigma female doesn't fold under pressure. She handles the situation calmly, assesses intentions, and decides the level of engagement that is appropriate without compromising her freedom. Their attempts to surveil can become invasive, but she maintains clarity, prioritizes her safety, and sets clear limits. Even when someone escalates, she stays composed, knowing that engagement on their terms only gives them power. Instead, she operates on her own principles, making choices that align with her values and priorities. Surveillance fails because it assumes fear or guilt can dictate her actions. It assumes she is dependent on approval or supervision, but she is not. She uses the experience to sharpen her judgment and reinforce her independence. She may disengage, redirect, or address the behavior assertively, but she never lets someone else dictate her life. Every attempt to monitor her serves as a reminder of how untouchable her autonomy is. Sigma females understand that their lives are their own. No one can impose boundaries on her inner world. Attempts at surveillance only highlight the manipulator's insecurity and reveal the Sigma female's unshakable independence. In the end, monitoring fails because she operates on her terms, navigates her life with clarity, and refuses to allow control through observation. Their efforts to intrude are met with composure, confidence, and absolute self-mastery. Sigma females remain untouchable, secure, and free, proving that no one's gaze, oversight, or obsession can ever limit the power of a woman who refuses to be controlled. 8. Financial and basic needs control. Some men try to hurt Sigma females by controlling their money or limiting access to basic needs. They assume that if they control finances, shelter, or resources, they can influence decisions, create dependency, or force submission. It might start subtly, like suggesting she shouldn't spend on herself, questioning her choices, or making financial decisions for her. Then it can escalate to withholding money, threatening security, or using resources as leverage. Sigma females respond differently. She doesn't rely on anyone else to define her independence or value. Her self-sufficiency is non-negotiable. Financial control assumes vulnerability where there is none. She knows her worth isn't determined by anyone's generosity or threats. She has the skills, intelligence, and determination to maintain autonomy. Every attempt to restrict her resources only strengthens her resolve. Sigma females are strategic. They plan, adapt, and ensure they have multiple ways to support themselves. Whether it's career, skills, or resources, she maintains freedom over her choices. Men trying this tactic often underestimate her ingenuity and determination. They hope pressure will create fear or submission, but she remains composed and proactive. Financial control is more than money. It's about attempting to influence decisions, create obligation, and assert power. Sigma females see this clearly and refuse to be manipulated. She sets boundaries, protects her assets, and maintains clarity over her priorities. Even if someone threatens to withdraw support or create obstacles, she doesn't panic. Instead, she identifies solutions, secures independence, and continues moving forward without compromise. Financial manipulation often comes with emotional manipulation. Men may frame it as care, concern, or responsibility. "I'm only doing this for your own good," or "you can't handle it alone." But the Sigma female recognizes the tactic. She doesn't allow guilt or obligation to override her judgment or limit her freedom. She responds calmly, assertively, and decisively, demonstrating that control over resources does not equate to control over her. Each attempt to manipulate finances reinforces her resilience, ingenuity, and independence. She learns to anticipate pressure, develop alternatives, and stay ahead without losing composure. In the end, financial and basic needs control fails because Sigma females operate on self-reliance and confidence. No matter the obstacle, she adapts, maintains autonomy, and protects her freedom. Men attempting to use resources as leverage expose their insecurity and underestimate her strength. Every effort to limit her independence becomes a lesson in strategy, patience, and self-mastery. Sigma females remain untouchable, capable, and fully in control of their lives. Their power doesn't come from money, approval, or resources. It comes from within. In the face of attempts to control finances or basic needs, she continues to thrive, proving once again that no one can restrict, manipulate, or diminish a Sigma female's strength, freedom, or self-worth. 9. Sexual coercion and boundary violations. Some men try to hurt Sigma females by testing, ignoring, or outright violating their boundaries, especially when it comes to sexual behavior. They might use pressure, manipulation, or subtle coercion, thinking they can bend her will or force compliance. Comments like, "You're overreacting," or "Everyone does this," are designed to make her doubt her right to say no. The aim is control, taking power over her choices, body, and autonomy. Sigma females respond differently. She doesn't give in to manipulation, guilt, or societal pressure. Her boundaries are clear, and she communicates them unapologetically. She knows that consent is hers alone, and anyone trying to overstep is crossing a line that will not be ignored. The more someone pushes, the more her awareness and resolve grow. Sexual coercion assumes that she can be manipulated emotionally or physically, but Sigma females are untouchable in this way. They understand that pressure and intimidation are reflections of someone else's insecurity, not of her vulnerability. She enforces her limits consistently, making it impossible for manipulation to succeed. If someone disregards her boundaries, she disengages, walks away, or asserts herself firmly. She doesn't react out of fear, guilt, or shame. Instead, she acts with calm authority, reinforcing that her autonomy is non-negotiable. Sigma females also prepare for these scenarios mentally and practically. She understands the tactics people may use, recognizes red flags early, and maintains a support network for safety and guidance. This preparation isn't paranoia, it's strategy. Every attempt to violate boundaries only sharpens her instincts, teaching her which people, situations, and environments are safe and which are not. Coercion and boundary violations are often disguised as persuasion, flirtation, or playful behavior. Sigma females see through these masks quickly. They recognize manipulation for what it is and respond with composure rather than reaction. By doing so, they protect themselves without giving unnecessary energy to the aggressor. Every failed attempt at coercion reinforces the Sigma female's sense of control and independence. She doesn't need validation or protection from anyone else because her strength lies in her clarity, self-respect, and inner authority. The more someone tries to pressure her, the more untouchable she becomes. In the end, sexual coercion and boundary violations fail against a Sigma female because she doesn't negotiate her limits, she trusts her instincts, and she moves through the world with confidence and calm assertiveness. Attempts to manipulate her physically or emotionally only expose the aggressor's weakness and reaffirm her power. Sigma females remain untouchable, unshakable, and fully autonomous. Their boundaries are ironclad, their confidence unshakable, and their independence absolute. Every coercive attempt is met with composure, clarity, and firm refusal, proving once again that no one can violate a Sigma female's autonomy or diminish her power. She is untouchable, unbreakable, and unstoppable. Here's what happens when a Sigma female meets resistance. She doesn't break. She doesn't crumble under pressure, and she certainly doesn't let someone else define her worth. Instead, she outsmarts, she adapts, and she navigates every obstacle with calm precision. Resistance, manipulation, and even direct attacks only highlight her ability to remain composed, while others react impulsively. Take Sophia, for example, a woman working in a highly competitive corporate environment. She faced a male colleague who constantly tried to undermine her work, question her decisions, and discredit her contributions. He used gossip, subtle intimidation, and even tried to manipulate her team to turn against her. Most people in her situation might have panicked, reacted defensively, or allowed frustration to take over, but Sophia did something different. She stayed composed, she documented every interaction carefully, and she handled each attempt to manipulate her with clarity and patience. She didn't lash out or try to prove herself aggressively. Instead, she relied on her intelligence, strategy, and unwavering confidence. Every move she made highlighted her control over the situation rather than the manipulator's attempts to control her. Over time, her calm persistence and professional conduct became undeniable. The colleague's tactics lost all impact. By the end of the ordeal, he had no power left over her or the team's perception, while Sophia earned the respect of her entire office, her peers recognizing not just her skills, but her strength, composure, and strategic mindset. That's Sigma strength in action, strategic, patient, and unstoppable. Sigma females don't just survive challenges, they thrive through them. They turn resistance into opportunities to showcase resilience, intelligence, and autonomy. They demonstrate that true power isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet, controlled, and absolute. Sigma females are resilient because they set boundaries and enforce them consistently. They trust their instincts, relying on inner wisdom rather than external validation. They own their story, embracing both past and present without shame, turning every experience into a source of strength. They thrive in autonomy, refusing to let anyone else dictate their path or define their worth. They remain unshaken by intimidation, manipulation, or coercion, moving through the world on their own terms. Men can try, but they fail, not because Sigma females are lucky, but because they're built differently. Strong, confident, and untouchable, a Sigma female's strength is inherent, unshakable, and undeniable. Have you seen a Sigma female rise above manipulation or adversity? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear every single one. Let's celebrate these moments of strength together and inspire others to recognize the power of women who refuse to be controlled or diminished. And if you want even more insight into powerful women who turn challenges into unstoppable strength, check out our next video on how Sigma females turn challenges into unstoppable strength. Stay strong, stay untouchable, and remember, your power isn't anyone's to take. Every step you take, every boundary you set, and every challenge you face only reinforces the truth that you are unbreakable, resilient, and absolutely unstoppable.